I'm Pennma, still watching Death Battle, still like Death Battle, and we're here with episode 3 of season 9 of Death Battle, Tanjiro Kamado vs. Jonathan Joestar, Demon Slayer vs. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now this was one that was definitely getting floated around, especially whenever Tanjiro was teased for season 9, back at the end of season 8. And I didn't watch Demon Slayer, so I didn't really have much idea what it was, but people started throwing out Jonathan. I did like that, because I'm a fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm literally drinking out of a mug that has Jolene on it right now. It made sense from at least a little bit of Demon Slayer that I'd seen. They're both nice boys who have a sword, and they fight monsters with the power of breathing in sunlight. I do think it's fun. We need anime matchups. It's been a pretty big pillar in Death Battle. I would say it's on the same level as like the Marvel vs. DC's like big popular shonen matches like this. Tanjiro Kamado, back whenever I made the last video, I said that I hadn't watched a lot of Demon Slayer, and of what I did watch, I thought it was fairly generic and not very interesting. Since then, I have rewatched a couple episodes, dubbed this time because I find that easier to watch, and have read around 50 chapters of Demon Slayer manga, because I'm much faster at reading. Let me check actually. I was up to chapter 66. Which is about a quarter of the way through the entire series, I think. And I pretty much still stand by what I said. It's not the most interesting. It's fairly generic. It's fine though. Like I might continue reading it. If it's your first shonen or your first anime, you could do a lot worse. It's fine. Like I'd compare it directly to My Hero Academia because it's me in contemporary, I would say. The difference being that Deku Izuku is a more interesting protagonist and fits in his world better, because Tanjiro's in like a world of like where like him being the nice boy is like not the best thing he can do. Also, that's kind of all his personality is just being nice. And also My Hero Academia just has the innate gimmick of being about superheroes, whereas demon fighting samurai, there's many of those. I can show you like 3 here. Boom. I don't think Tanjiro's that interesting, or at least he's more interesting when he bounces off other characters. So whenever, other people show up, this series is a little more interesting. Like that demon, like the Mugen Trio, that was a pretty good arc. But back to like fucking this stupid bullshit, at least as far as I got, it definitely introduced most of the things they bring up here. Like his breathing style, it pretty much just introduced his Hinokami Kakura sun breathing. It didn't bring up everything because, spoilers, the manga ended 2 years ago and the anime is still going. And it's one of the biggest in the world, or at least it was. Like, I think it dethroned One Piece at one point for like most manga seals, like for like a month or so. One thing that I'm pretty sure it was literally word of God author said it, that the elements you see when they swing the sword is just artistic flair. They're just swinging the sword good. They take it more as, no, we're gonna treat it as like the sword summons a big plume of water or fire, which I get, because sometimes it's like, oh no, that's just a flare, and it's like, well, if it is just flare, then this scene doesn't make sense, which is understandable. It definitely moved forward, and there was some stuff I did know about, he is like a fucking ancient descending golden child, which is another shonen trope that maybe we should move past. But yeah, he got other superpowers. He has this fucking X-ray vision, which is a weird thing to give a samurai. I will say this, his rundown, I'd say suffered a little bit at the end just due to this season changing how they do things, because they would get copyright strikes for like the little clip they used, so they would just take those out. Ended up a little weird. I will say it did kind of convince me during this. I was like, oh, he's got some bullshit. All this fucking breathing, and they're letting him shoot fire out of his sword. That's pretty strong. Like, I was getting a little convinced. Then to Jonathan. I don't know how popular Jonathan is amongst the JoJo fans, but I like Jonathan quite a lot. I was definitely, whenever I watched JoJo first, I was definitely a little upset whenever, it's not fucking spoilers, it happens in the first 10 episodes when Jonathan dies, and then we're just shipped over to Joseph, and you have to be like, alright, fucking dickhead, impress me. And then he does, because it's Joseph. But you're still like, oh, I miss Jonathan. One thing when I was thinking whenever this was announced was definitely the just disparity of content. While Tanjiro is the anime protagonist of a long-running Shonen Jump manga that ran for like 4 years and over 200 chapters. Phantom Blood, at least in the anime, was 9 episodes. Ran for about 40 chapters, which is significantly less than the over 200 that Demon Slayer had. And then also has the issue of that the thing that he uses, Hamon, was dropped after it was dropped by part 3. So that only really has a little bit of stuff. But then you remember that Hamon can do some stupid shit. Like it punched through that frog, it punched through that wall to kill Jack the Ripper, all the goofy shit that Joseph and Caesar did in that weird battle with the lady, and they put a bird in her mouth. I would definitely say I like Jonathan a lot more than I like Tanjiro. I find Tanjiro, especially just by himself, again, he's very generic. And you could probably say the same for Jonathan. He's just nice Kenshiro. I guess because we only get a small amount of time with him, it appreciates what you have with him. An issue that kind of pops up here, though, is they do start scaling him to part 3 Dio, which might not be accurate, given that that was when stands happened. I think at least scaling him to Joseph later on is a little better, even though Joseph was kind of presented as like a Hamon prodigy, while Jonathan was just, I guess he was just a quick learner. But maybe he was also a Hamon prodigy, he just didn't know it, whereas and it kind of got inherited to Joseph. Then we're on to the fight, and once again, start on the music. This one is, instead of Brandon Yates this time, we got Therewolf Media, who did some of, I would say, the best tracks in the series. They did Wings of Iron, one of my favorites, and I think they at least collaborated with Brandon Yates for MIDI. That one's great. This time we got Breathless Blades, which that's a solid name for these two fighters. I think it works super good as a score, and if you just listen to it as a score, it works really well, as opposed to like, I don't know, last week's song, or I guess 2 weeks ago's song. It just kind of sits in the background and like kind of helps with tone, but this one, like if you listen to it, you can still follow the fight, which I think is really good. Speaking of the fight, this time we have another 2D sprite animation with a big 3D background, and I think it looks really good. I've seen some people talk about it being like looking kind of jank. I guess because they're still being like puppeted, but I think it looks really good. Like they've definitely figured it out by this point. And I would say the only jank maybe really would come from they're very clearly custom sprites. But that also kind of lends to, like, they can make it work with the animation style they're gonna do with it. You know, it's got some fun stuff. You got a good amount of banter going between them. It's a little weird that the fight starts with Jonathan trying to kill Nezuko. Come on, Jonathan, you putting yourself in the role of the villain? But I like you. There's a lot of just fun, especially swordplay, because Jonathan didn't get to do a lot of swordplay. As soon as he got the sort of luck and pluck, Dio broke it like in a second. They definitely try their best with the breathing styles for Tanjiro's attacks, and I appreciate it. They're not ufotable though, so it doesn't look amazing, but they try their best, and I appreciate that. One thing I definitely think is super fun near the end of the fight, a lot of use of like anime time, where they just kind of like they freeze the action so that they can have a quick monologue in their brain. That I think is really good. I don't really have a ton to say about most of it. I just think it's like very well done fight, and they both get to do cool stuff. And they do have like little things that if you're aware of the series that they're in, you'll catch on to. By which I mean, I'm moving on to the death now. Whenever Tanjiro goes for the kill, you see the thread of the opening thread that he has, where you can see like where to stab for. And again, with the anime time, before he gets stabbed, Jonathan gets sort of just like, oh dear, I'm about to get stabbed. I should move so that I don't die from it. And whenever that happens, the thread snaps, so you know that it didn't work. So it's not that much of a surprise whenever. And also, we didn't see the Sunlight Yellow Overdrive. We still had to see it. That's definitely an issue with death battles. Like, if you know they have a big cool attack and they haven't used it yet, they still have to use it. The only time I think they managed to mitigate that was in Ghost Rider vs. Lobo, whenever he immediately tries for the Penance Stare and it doesn't work. So you're not waiting the whole thing being like, well, Ghost Rider's gonna win. He hasn't used the Penance Stare yet. Even though he did win and used the Penance Stare, and it was very cool. But back to this fight, yeah, we hadn't seen that yet. And he got a big old punch rush like JoJo's do. I do always like that. And they also decided to have this fight end on a very bittersweet note, very somber, especially because the being beaten and slammed into a rock didn't kill Tanjiro. What killed him was Jonathan mercifully using his Hamon to stop his heart after vowing to protect Nezuko. It's an interesting somber note, that they decided to go for. Especially if later in the season we get like Nezuko in a fight. Is Jonathan gonna be there? Is there gonna be a weird meta-narrative within the episodes? I don't know. I do think it was very interesting and new for the series. Results-wise, again, last week I bet right. I bet on Jonathan. I was right. But I will say the rundown definitely kind of convinced me towards Tanjiro, but Hamon pretty strong. And also just like, yeah, if he touches, like anytime they make contact, Jonathan can just send Hamon into him. The only real thing he didn't have was, he's not a swordsman, he was just given a sword. He's swinging it around as best he can. And like, he never needs that sword anyway. He's a JoJo character. They punch a lot. Except for Joseph, he more just uses tricks. And I forgot for the last couple weeks, but I am gonna try and rank these as I'm going through, and here they are. Well, bang. I like this one a lot. Like, more than I thought I was going to, especially because Demon Slayer's fine. If you like it, you like it. I think it's just kind of meh. I might finish it though. It's fine though. I would say there's more interesting stuff, but I also very much like JoJo, and it's been a minute since I watched Jonathan or watched Phantom Blood. Maybe I should do that. But before that, what about next time? Yes, next time on Death Battle, we have Thor versus Vegeta. Given that this is done pretty soon after the official thumbnail hasn't come out, so I'm just taking one from the wiki that I think looks nice. We've only got ones that we've been teased so far. Like, we haven't been, like, mega surprised by something that we didn't see coming, because we've seen all of these coming so far. Now, I enjoyed the Marvels, and the last Thor movie, and, like, stuff we saw with Thor in the cinematic universe was very good, and I'm very much looking forward to his next one. And I also just generally like mythology. Dragon Ball, I am fairly sick of. I read all Dragon Ball when Dragon Ball FighterZ was coming out so that I would be aware of stuff, and I'm just like, boy, I never want to see Goku again. I can deal with Vegeta though. I do quite like Vegeta. If it's Vegeta and Gohan, I can live with it. Get Goku out of here though. I really don't know where this is going because I don't keep up with comics. But apparently Thor is now the king of Asgard and therefore has the power of the Odin Force, which is the Thor Force. He was the Herald of Galactus for a little while there. I don't know if they're going to let him do that. Vegeta probably got some power-ups. Something called Ultra Ego, whatever that is. And also, he's blue. What feats can you give him to, like, show that he's very strong? Because he gets jobbed out at every turn. It'll be interesting to see the Battle of Princes. And I guess it's the second time we've seen both of these. Technically third for Thor, but should we even count that fight against Raiden? But anyways, thanks a lot for watching this. I'll see you next time for episode 4. Peace.